And US President Joe Biden is set to visit India from September 7th to the 10th for the G20 summit. The White House has confirmed this. He, along with other G20 partners, will discuss joint efforts to tackle global issues including clean energy transition and combating climate change, mitigating economic and social impacts of Ukraine war, and increasing the capacity of multilateral development banks, including the World Bank, to better fight poverty. And the White House, this is what the White House has said. In fact, I'm being joined right now by Patsy Widakuswara, the White House Bureau Chief of Voice of America, also by Raymond Vickery, the former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce and Senior Associate Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. First to you, Patsy, how significant is this move by U.S. President Joe Biden? There was already indications that he would be visiting India. There was a massive meet between Joe Biden as well as Prime Minister Modi recently, and now Joe Biden, the President of U.S., will be visiting India and will be part of the G20 summit here.
Well, I think, as you mentioned, Shmiya, there is absolutely no doubt that President Joe Biden was going to come to this meeting. This is a very important meeting. G20 is also a very important format for President Joe Biden. I mean, we knew that there was no way President Joe Biden was going to skip this meeting, even though the White House had only confirmed it a couple of hours ago. A couple of things that I want to underline here. What is interesting, if you compare it to last year, for example, when President Joe Biden was going to attend the G20 summit in Bali in November of last year, starting April, President Joe Biden and also the White House had already signaled that he is not going to come unless President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, was disinvited. This year with India, we don't see anything like that. I mean, I think it's now just a given that on all these multilateral summits, Russia will not be officially kicked out, but usually Vladimir Putin does not attend personally, so that may not be such an issue anymore. And the other point that I'd like to underline here is also how significant this is for Joe Biden as a forum to include the global South, to engage the global South in terms of the West coalition to support Ukraine. So those two issues are important as we keep in mind for the president's visit in India.
Right. Thank you for that. And in fact, let me just get in Raymond Vickery at this point. Mr. Raymond, what would be the key takeaways of this meeting as Joe Biden visits India? Of course, a lot of focus on global South, ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. But how is this really going to be looked at globally and including particularly by the US and India?
Well, thanks for having me. I think that this is a continuation of what we saw in June when Prime Minister Modi visited the United States. And I think the key takeaway here is the relationship between the U.S. and India as the world's two greatest democracies. It's plain that the Biden administration has placed a huge confidence in India and in Indian democracy. I would point out that President Biden is not just coming for the G20 meeting. He's coming 2 days early. And that's not insignificant because it will give him an opportunity to talk bilaterally with Prime Minister Modi and others about the U.S.-India relationship. Right. So I see this as broader than just the two great leaders, Biden and Modi. I see it as a continuation of the cementing of the ties between the United States and India.
Right. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. A few very crucial days ahead, even as several top leaders are set to be in India for the big G20 summit finale.